I wanted to show us how we could also use masks to blend two images together. So I have an image of a dog and I have an image of a fish, and I'm going to use elements or parts of the fish and sort of blend them on to the dog by working my masks, to make them feel like they, even though they don't belong together, that they're kind of like on the same body. And masks using brushes and gradients can do a lot to create cool illusions. So I wanted to show you just sort of a simple way of approaching that. So what I did is I just did a quick remove background mask on both of these. So I just clicked remove background and it created that little mask for me. I'm going to apply the mask on my fish because what I want to do is then cut out some shapes of the fish and bring them over. So I'm going to right click on the mask thumbnail of the fish layer and apply layer mask. And now the background is gone. And my dog mask I'm going to keep because I noticed I need to work it a little bit under the chin and around the mouth. Maybe the ear or head got cut off a little bit. So I'll come back to that. But I'm going to go over to my fish layer and just with the polygonal lasso tool or the lasso tool, I'm going to grab a selection, kind of a loose selection because I'll come back for more. I'm going to get a part of the body of the fish. I just really want these scales to play with for now, and then I'm going to come back and get some fins and maybe a tail. And I made just a really loose selection around, and I'm going to Command C to copy and then go over to my dog and Command V. I'm sort of like dressing up my dog in a fish costume. So I'm going to move this around. I hit Command T to be able to change the scale and rotate. And I just try to like match this up with the shape of the body a little bit. Okay. And now I'm going to see what I can do with some masks. So I'm going to add a quick mask onto this fish scale layer. Quick mask there. And I'm going to use the gradient tool to create like a kind of a soft transition of revealing it. I'll grab the gradient tool and I want to make sure I've got a couple things selected. So one, I want to be sure that I see black and white because I have my mask thumbnail selected in the layer panel. And then I'm working with just the basic, the very first option here of the white to black gradient. And I'm going to work with the linear gradient here. And I always have to try, just put it down first and see what happens. But if I click and drag, okay, that's doing the opposite. So I'm going to click and drag the other way because what I want it to do is just sort of look like it's blending onto our dog here without showing the edge of the fish of my selection. And so maybe I'll make it a little more aggressively transitioning. And you can adjust the gradient like this too. Okay, so that's a start. And now I'm going to work with my brushes to conceal and reveal the fish scales around the dog and sort of make it feel like they're blended onto the body. So I know this is weird, but this is just an experiment. So I'm going to get my brush tool. And the thing that I really like to work with the brushes and masks is working with either a hard brush or a soft brush, depending on the effect that I'm trying to get. And then also changing the opacity. So right now I'm 100%, but I can also lower the opacity. And I'll show you what that does. So first off, I want to soften this edge right here, where the top of the fish is kind of cutting off the neck. And also down here at the bottom, like the bottom of the body. So I'm going to get a soft brush, the softest. And I'm also going to lower my opacity a little bit, maybe like 50 or something. And since I'm concealing, I need to conceal, I'm going to get black. And bring my brush up a little bit to the size or so. And well, that was with my brackets, right, to lower the brush size and make it larger. And now I'm going to kind of paint along the edge of this, and I might make my brush a little bigger, a little smaller, change it around, but I'll zoom in so you can see what I'm doing. But I'm just trying to like soften that transition there, that edge, and I'll do it down here too. And so with my brush opacity at 50, it doesn't automatically make a hard erase of it. And so I might need to do a hard erase on the body over here. But I'm just softening it along the belly to sort of blend it in. The belly of the dog, that is. One thing that sometimes I do too when I'm playing with layers is I might lower the opacity of my layer. So I'm clicking on the fish thumbnail of the layer thumbnail and lowering the opacity on the layer so I could see where that dog shape is. Right, where does the belly? And so now I'll get a brush that has a harder edge, and I'll work with 100%. Oops, I am not on the mask thumbnail. Let me click the mask thumbnail. And I'm going to try to get rid of this fish body part that is not the bell on the dog's belly. And I might erase two here over by the tail, because I just kind of want it to match the shape of the dog. Okay, and so now I'll make the opacity up 100% again to see that. And then I think I'll go with my soft brush and soften the edge all over. So soft brush again, lower opacity, 50 or so, and I'm gonna go along the edge. Oh, I did the thing again. Undo and go to my layer mask. Okay, that happens a lot. Just make sure you're on your layer mask. And I'm gonna do a bigger brush, soften along these hard edges of the cutout of the selection that I made here, and then I might do a smaller brush to soften the edge. And I just go over it, a couple times. I don't want to overwork it, but it's just, the goal is to get rid of that, that like really clear cut. And I could even go around some like specific scales and make that more of an irregular shape, and that might help my illusion, right? Maybe some scales are coming out and some are all the way blended. I lost my train of thought. I started concentrating. Okay, so it's starting to work over here, working with my paintbrush. And of course, if I go too far, I can always switch over to the white and try to bring some things back. Maybe I want to bring back the look of some of these scales that I took away too far. So I'm kind of liking the top of it. It's okay. Oops. I could even lower my opacity down really low, like below 20, and then that's going to have a less drastic change. I kind of want to get rid of some of it here along the leg. But one other thing I wanted to show you is that you could borrow some selections from another layer and then apply it onto your mask. So for example, I'm going to select these with the quick selection tool. I'm going to select the spots on this dog. This might already be cut out, I'm not sure. And with those selections made, I'm going to hop over to my layer mask thumbnail on my goldfish. So it's like I made a selection and then I switched layers. And now I'm going to use my brush, and wherever I paint will only affect those selected areas, right? So I can paint the black in those areas and bring out the spots of my dog but underneath. And again, so I'll deselect Command D, and then it looks kind of funky, so I might like lower the opacity of my brush and just again try to soften the edge of that selection. I think this time with the white of the scale, so the scales come over the dog fur a little bit and get rid of that hard edge. This is very silly. Okay, so now we have a goldfish turning dog. I could do something else. I'll just do one more quick thing to show you, and then we'll wrap up this illusion. I'll grab a fin from my fish. So again, I'm just using the polygonal tool because I'll finesse it with the mask eventually. Command C to copy, Command V to paste, and what if I put this on the back of my dog? Maybe I could scale it up a little bit. But I need to make it fit the shape. So I'm going to work with the mask to work this a little bit. So I'm going to lower my opacity too, so I can kind of see underneath. And this time I'm going to work with the just my lasso tool. Why not? To kind of draw along the edge of the dog here, and I can definitely use a magnetic lasso if I feel more comfortable with that. And then of course the brushes will come back to that too. But so I'm making a big selection around the part of the fin that I want to cut off. I'll make the opacity full again. And then I wanted to add a quick mask, but I think I need to inverse first. So select and inverse. So now my whole background is selected, except for that selection, and then I'll click the mask, the quick mask in the layer panel. And so it masked out that shape, right, that I had selected. And then I could work with my brushes again to kind of like soften that edge. And let's see, so I'm going to use the white, a soft brush, the opacity is at 40, and just like soften that edge a little bit. Maybe my opacity can be a little higher and my brush a little smaller. And so now like I have the interaction of the scales and the fins and the fur to deal with. And I'm just trying to blend it here as best I can. Maybe I want to let some of these scales come through. Oops. Getting rid of this line of the fin. Some scales bump out over it. I'm just kind of playing with those edges and working those illusions. What do we think? Pretty weird, right? The last thing I do sometimes when I'm working with two very different images that have different color spaces, I might create like an overall color cast. I'll give this a background quickly, and we'll see that I didn't cut my dog out fully, but that's okay. I can go to the adjustments layer, add solid color, and I might choose like a kind of pink color here, but I need to put that below my dog. There we go. And then on top of everything, I'll add an adjustment layer And we could do a photo filter or hue saturation change. I think I'll use a photo filter, um, a cooling filter, or I think a warming filter makes sense because all these shapes or these photos are kind of warm. And I can always, adjust the density of that. I try to create like a similar color space for those two, or similar tonal quality for those two images to feel more like they are one. Though here we go. I didn't cut my dog out fully, but you get the illusion beginning here with the goldfish and the dog, blending those layers together, just working with those masks.